Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Assembly meeting of October 25th. And first, I'd like to thank everybody in the audience and those at home watching either on TV or the Internet. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Assemblymember Domboski.
Present.
Assemblymember Croft.
Present.
Assemblymember Evans.
Here.
Assemblymember Flynn. Assemblymember Flynn is participating telephonically.
I think it's on mute.
Chair Gray Jackson.
Honored to be here.
Vice Chair Trainee.
Here.
Assemblymember Steele.
Here.
Assemblymember Peterson.
Present.
Assemblymember Starr.
Here.
Assemblymember Dunbar.
Here.
Assemblymember Weddleton.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have Pack 293 from Eagle River to come down and do the colors and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
They should be coming down.
Color guard attention. Color guard advance. Color guard halt. Color guard prepare to post the colors. Color guard post the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the Scout oath and law. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Now the Scout law. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. You may be seated. Color guard, prepare to retire the colors. Color guard, retire the colors. Color guard, advance. Color guard halt. Color guard dismissed. Assembly rest.
Madam Clerk, Madam Chairman, why don't we have them come up and tell us what rank they're in their names?
Mr. Trainee has requested that each of you come up and tell us what your name is and your rank, so please join us at the podium. Thank you.
I know they're nervous, but they're nervous.
They're all right.
I'm Gavin, and I'm a Weeblo too. I'm Reese, and I am a Weeblo.
Turn and face the assembly members, please.
I'm Reese, and I am a Weeblo. I'm Shane, and I'm a Weeblo.
I'm Augie, and I'm a Weeblo.
Well, thank you so much for doing the pledge and for leading us in the flag. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're now at agenda item Mayor's report. I know the mayor is out of town, but is there anything?
No report this
Okay,
evening.
great. And
Thank you, Madam.
thank you. And as far as the chair's report, what I'm going to do is ask my colleagues if we can do committee reports at the November 1st meeting, so we can move right into the purpose of the special meeting, public hearing. If nobody objects to that, I'm going to move right into the public hearing. Mr. Trainee.
Madam Chair, move to combine the public hearings, item 14A, 14B, 14C, 14D, 14E, 14F, and 14G.
May I have a
Need
second?
a second. That'll combine all the public hearings so they don't have to keep getting up time after time.
Seeing no objection, those items are combined. First public hearing, AO 2016-102, an ordinance of the Municipality of Anchorage adopting and appropriating funds for the 2017 general government operating budget for the Municipality of Anchorage. AO 2016-103, the 2017 Municipal Utilities Enterprise Activities Operating Budgets and the 2017 Municipal Utilities Enterprise Activities Capital Budgets. AO 2016-104, the 2017 Operating Capital Budget of Anchorage Community Development Authority. AO 2016-105, 2017 General Government Capital Improvement Budget. AR 2016-235, 2017 to 2022 General Government Capital Improvement Program. AR 2016-236, 2017-2022 Municipal Utilities Enterprise Activities Capital Improvement Programs. AR 2016-237, 2017 to 2022 six-year fiscal program. Public hearing is now open. Anyone wish to be heard?
3 minutes.
Welcome, sir. Please state your name and spell your last.
My name is Jed Whitaker, Whittakar. There are 2 Alaskas and 2 Anchorages. There are the haves and the have-nots. And the voices of the have-nots are not heard. The mayor, if he really wanted to do something about the housing problem in Anchorage, could work with the Alaska Housing Finance Corporation to create new housing. There is a failure of this administration to address the problem of housing in this city. Not only that, the mayor is in violation of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling, which says, basically, that when the homeless shelters are full, that to confiscate the belongings of homeless people that are camping out is cruel and unusual punishment. We have a huge fiscal crisis in this state, largely because the haves who are on feeding themselves from the public trough want to ignore the have-nots. Well, the have-nots are not going away. And until our governor and our mayor and our legislature and you, our elected representatives on this assembly, stand up and show some leadership and create some new housing, the problem will not go away. You will continue to spend money on community service patrol. You will continue to spend money on Anchorage police. You will continue to have a huge heroin epidemic, methamphetamine epidemic, alcoholic epidemic, because it is extremely hard to function in society when you don't have a home. And I'm appalled at the lack of leadership in this state, the richest state in the Union. I am appalled that there is even one single homeless person in this state. So while you're all sucking up at the public trough there and ignoring this problem, the problem is not going to go away. It's only going to get bigger if you don't do something about it. This budget, our mayor wants to pretend that this problem doesn't exist. Hire some people to call up landlords and, no, you need to create new housing. Housing permits are down. Builders are not building. The mission of the Alaska Housing Finance Corporation is to create affordable housing. The Alaska Housing Finance Corporation, if the mayor had some leadership,
Sir, I want to thank you very much
Could
for testifying. Your time is
work with the Alaska Housing Finance Corporation to actually create some new housing in this community.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
Why? I don't know, but thank you for,
You're welcome.
thank you very much for listening,
You're welcome, sir.
because you're not going to probably hear too many other voices like mine.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Anyone else wish to be heard? Good evening. Please state your name and spell your last.
Hi, my name is Mary Elizabeth Ryder, R-I-D-E-R. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Assembly. And Jed, it's very hard to follow you. Thanks for hearing me this evening. I'm speaking on behalf of the members of the Arts Advisory Commission. We're asking you to restore the arts grants in the operating budget to the $137,500 level that it has been for the last several years. I chair the commission. I live in Eastridge. I've lived in Alaska for 36 years, in Anchorage since 1983, Anchorage Bowl. My great-aunt homesteaded in the South Fork of Eagle River before statehood and was a librarian at Alaska Methodist, and some of you know her because she was a librarian with her dog. I was first appointed to this commission about 3 years ago and reappointed this month, so thank you for that. The Arts Grant Program is small, but it's mighty. It's a very small program with a big impact. It's been around since 1977. The program's located in the operating budget, unlike the arts grants programs of other cities, and it's been subject to cuts since its high point in 1983. The grants program is 0.005 of the operating budget, and the proposed cut of $50,000 is 36% of the Muni's arts budget. Municipal arts grants leverage national, state, and mostly private support. We have a high impact, and the rate of return is breathtaking. The total revenue of the 17 grantees that we're serving in this fiscal or calendar year is $21.2 million. This is in line with past year's actual revenues. The vast majority is local and private funding. These grantees are good at finding local dollars. With that money, they've reached audiences of 446,174 Anchorage residents, other Alaskans who traveled here to see shows and art installations, also lower 48 tourists. Using the economic multiplier of $26 per ticket, and that's a lower 48 multiplier, so it's kind of low for us. Our grantees' ticket holders bring in an additional $11.6 million into the Anchorage economy through hotel rooms and meals for each night they come to see a show. Arts organizations rent commercial space, buy products locally, employ or provide stipends to local artists. And tourism is one of the two growth areas in our state economy. After healthcare, it's the second one. It relies on a robust, stable arts community to draw and keep tourists in Anchorage. So we're interested in protecting and preserving the cultural attributes of Anchorage. It helps protect our city's stability and potential for growth. The city benefits from maintaining this small and stable fund. Public investments in the arts attract other types of funding to cities like Anchorage. A lack of public investment drives down the interest lower 48 funders have in our grantees, and it diminishes us all. Restoring funds for the arts grants does not have to conflict with the critical goals of public safety and public works. There must be a way to prioritize both. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support of our request, but mostly thank you for your leadership and for your service to our community.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. Anyone else wish to be heard? Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Abbott, members of the Assembly, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Levy, and I'm the chair of the Library Advisory Board. And I've come here this evening to ask for a request to support a reinstatement of $150,000 for the Anchorage Library System. We recognize the fiscal challenges that the city faces. And we greatly appreciate the investment that the city has made both at the assembly level and through the mayor's office. But the Anchorage Library System is going through a renewal process right now. As you can see in the parking lot in the building, we have an expectation of a big celebration this spring, made in part by a public-private partnership from the state and from private investment. And so we're asking the city to further that investment, to increase both some of the private security in the building, some increased staffing, and some increased office support for the building so that we can celebrate our community and celebrate our library system. I will keep my comments brief because I know this is going to be a long evening for you. So thanks again for your support for the library in the past, and on behalf of the Library Advisory Board, would like to have you consider further investments. So thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, sir. Anyone else wish to be heard? Good evening.
Hi. So my name is Juliana Andrew, Andrew. I'm a senior at East High School. I guess you could say it started with my great-great-grandmother, who was a Parisian opera singer who was invited to the U.S. by Arturo Toscanini. My great-grandmother was an artist and sculptor. My grandparents met in their college choir, and when they moved to Alaska with very little money, their priority, after an apartment and food, was buying season tickets to the Anchorage Symphony. I used to play dress-up in my mom's fancy dresses from her voice recitals, and I started piano at age 5, participated in my elementary school choir. I joined Janet Carr Campbell's Music and Dance Machine, then Janet Stott's Alaskan Children's Choir, played violin and sang in the Bagich Middle School Choir, joined TBA Theater's Summer Academy, and then their main stage shows, followed by East High's Dance Contempo and Jill Niemeyer's drama program. Now I can stand up here and tell you all about how the arts changed my life, how I slouched to try to be the same height as my peers, or how I wouldn't raise my hand in class unless I could picture a popular girl saying what I wanted to. And in contrast, I can try to explain how being on stage made me forget about my height because it put me center stage. How when I was with a group of performers, it didn't matter what a popular girl thought because each of our voices mattered. I can tell you that I'd never felt true acceptance, never trusted a person's genuineness until I found TBA Theater, or that my footsteps were 100 times heavier, my arms more prone to hitting random objects before Dance Contempo, or that I know people, friends, whose lives have been quite literally saved by theater. But these are stories you've all heard before that don't seem to be making any difference in budget decisions. I think we can all agree that the arts promote creativity. So why are we cutting them when creativity is one of the most important traits many employers are looking for? Arts are what qualify so many students for scholarships to help them achieve a higher education, so why do we cut them? Arts programs are being cut left and right while sports have remained largely untouched. As a society, we value sports because they're performance-based. They keep kids engaged, focused, and disciplined, help them set goals and work hard to achieve them. But the arts do the exact same thing, only for a different group of people. Football saved one boy from the low road because it motivated him to keep his grades up, just like dance saved another boy by doing the same thing. By continuing to cut funding to the arts, we're neglecting parts of our society that don't fit into the sports crowd or the academic crowd. I hear people referring to actors, dancers, musicians, artists as misfits, but we're only misfits if there isn't a place for us to fit in. The stage, the choir room, the dance studio, the canvas, that's where we fit in, and that's what we're cutting. If you think about a time you heard a really good song on the radio, or attended a play or dance concert, or admired a beautiful mural, and now try to picture your life without those moments, and please stop cutting the resources that help create them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Good evening.
Madam Chair, Assembly members, I'm Bonnie Harris. I'm here on behalf of the Federation of Community Councils. I have the pleasure of serving as the chair of the Federation this year, as I did last year. I'd like to request that the Assembly strongly consider and keep in mind the budget request for the Federation of Community Councils, which is staying stable at $85,000 a year, as it has for the past few years, which is down quite a bit from what it was before. The Federation serves the community councils throughout the Anchorage Bowl and Eagle River. It serves 37 community councils. It's a foundation of the public process that was granted under the Anchorage Charter and Title 21. It's a very important service that the Federation provides, and it does so very efficiently. We're the communications hub for the councils and all their members. We send out thousands and thousands of emails of council information, of municipal information, of state information, of any information that needs to get to the broader public. We also provide the source for councils to send out their agendas and their newsletters and their minutes and keep information flowing. We provide a very important service for this public process. We've worked with councils outside of our service of mailing and information. We also work closely with them to help them organize for different things. The councils have never seemed to have been stronger than they are this year. We have more delegates at the Federation meeting than we've had in 10 years. And I think that speaks to situations unique to different neighborhoods in the Anchorage Bowl. The downtown area has a lot of concerns with crime, and all along the Chester Creek belt. And our community has been working with those communities to help them with security issues and discussions about community patrols and other measures. We also are working with the South Addition Community Council, which is the council I belong to develop a neighborhood plan to go along with the 2020 Comprehensive Plan and the 2040 Land Use Plan. We also help councils organize to address issues that are important to some of these same communities, homelessness, for one, and the camps along the Chester Creek. Those are big issues. Federation provides kind of a clearinghouse so that if an organization, an agency like the Anchorage Police Department cannot get to every council in town to talk about their issues, we can have them to the Federation, and they can talk before the delegates from almost all of those councils. And those delegates can take it back, and it goes into their community council, it goes into their communities, it goes into their neighbors. So we provide a basic public process service. It's an important service, and we hope you are able to sustain our budget.
Thank you. Mr. Weddleton?
Ms. Harris, thanks. So I understand, so you want more funding. I guess the question is how much and what would you do with it?
Madam Chair, Mr. Weddleton, we don't want more funding. We just want our budget sustained year to year. The last 2 years it's been $85,000. That's what we want again this year. It's a very minimum that we can provide all the services in addition to our office, which is a community center and where we have the meetings.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Weddleton. Mr. Traney?
Thank you for being here. For the $85,000, you guys do a wonderful job getting the message out to the citizens of Anchorage. And I've noticed the last couple of months the vast amount of people that are showing up to the Federation meeting. It's like almost every community council has a representative there because of your efforts to make sure that's a viable organization. So thanks for being here tonight, Bonnie.
Thank you, Mr. Traney. Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Thank you,
Anyone
Madam
else wish
Chair.
to be heard?
Traney?
Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. My name is Bob Rupke. I'm a member of the Northeast Community Council. I'm a Federation delegate to the Northeast Community Council. I can't tell you how much the Federation has helped our Community Council, both in sending out the agendas and the minutes and things that are going on in the community. Community councils are the grassroots of a community, and we would appreciate it if you would keep our budget at or grant at $85,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Assembly. My name is Kathy Gleason. I'm currently Vice President of Turnagain Community Council and the FCC delegate for the Council. I'm also a past president. I can't tell you how valuable the Federation of Community Councils Center is and all the services they provide each individual council. We're one of the more active community councils from what I've been told, and we really rely on the services that center provides. Bonnie did an excellent job kind of laying out all the things that every council looks to be provided for us. If we didn't have that umbrella center for all the 30-some councils, we'd kind of be on our own. Some councils have better funds than the others. I think, we have a minimal amount of money in our budget in Turnagain, and because we do not charge voluntary membership dues. And I I don't know that we could really provide the level of service and outreach and communication with the Turnagain neighborhood without that center and the staff, the building, the meeting rooms that it provides, everything that goes with the FCC, and the majority of the funding comes from the municipality. So I would really ask that you please continue to support the center with the $85,000 funding level. I do think the community gets a big bang for their buck, and we really appreciate the support that the municipality and the assembly would provide for us. Just also kind of on a side note, shifting gears a little bit, I know that it looks like the budget has to be cut somewhere, and it's really unfortunate. I worked pretty closely with the Parks Department in particular, worked closely with members of the Planning Department on a regular basis. Those two departments in particular really do a great job of communicating with neighborhoods, community councils, people who are interested in what's going on, and just don't want to see those departments or really any others cut, because they provide really important services to our community. I'm hoping that roads can get plowed and ice can get put down this winter, because those are pretty basic services that I just can't imagine living up here for 34 plus years and now you know, the level of services that the municipality provides all of us in the community. It's so important. So I don't envy your job, but I do want to let you know that I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I'll try to make this quick here. My name is Kyle Stevens. I'm the Vice President of Government Hill Community Council, and I'm here today to testify on behalf of the Federation of Community Councils annual budget as the FCC Vice Chair. The FCC has been an integral part in grassroots organizing and voter representation in the state of Alaska since its early days. The FCC has been able to do what other organizations and nonprofits have been unable to do in this difficult fiscal environment. Last 2 years, while budgets and viable nonprofits have decreased, our organization has shown physical growth, with more community councils involved and sitting on the board in decades. For the last 2 years, we've been able to back-to-back free up funds out of our budget for each community council for outreach, while our annual budget has remained the same. The successful management of our budget has allowed community councils to afford outreach to their communities and grow even in times of recession. As a nonprofit funded by the Assembly, we hold annual citywide events that other organizations do not. These free events include online training, the State of Our State Forum, our annual citywide summer picnic, and more. Therefore, I humbly ask that the FCC annual budget be approved in its entirety and without amendment.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to be heard? Welcome.
Hi, thank you. My name's Sarah Athens, A-T-H-A-N-S. So I'm here, like Emmy and a lot of other weird arts people, to ask that you restore the $50,000 to the budget for arts grants. And just a small personal story about I'm a direct result of public funding of the arts. So I want to thank you first for your legacy of supporting the arts. When I was 10 years old, I saw a play called Honk at Anchorage Community Theater. And it changed my life, because I was sitting in the audience, and it completely blew my mind, because all these people just seemed like magical creatures to me, and I couldn't imagine being one of them. And then my dad, who is an audience talker, leaned over and told me that he knew someone on stage, that he worked with him. And that was the first time that I knew that artists were normal people and that I could be one of them. So 10 years later, I graduated with a degree in theater and dance from the University of Texas. 2 years later, I graduated with my master's degree from the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama in London. And a couple months after that, I was hired as the executive director of Anchorage Community Theater. So now I get to do for people what ACT did for me. And that's a direct result of funding from people like you. So I would just ask that you think about that and say thank you so much. And I think that's it. And thank you for listening to us arts people. We care. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Good evening.
Hi. My name is Amari Hunter, and I'm here to ask you to reinstate the funding for the Anchorage arts in our community. The arts has played a crucial role, in my everyday choices. From the way that I think to the way that I stand. Without the arts, I don't think I could actually be here and stand in front of you guys. The arts has taught me how to stand up and just think perfectly. The arts has taught me just how to be confident, how to have meaning in the words that I say, and to stand with purpose. The arts has showed me that everyone is not perfect and that the little things can make a big difference. The arts has taught me that criticism isn't always a bad thing and that it can actually always help you. The arts has taught me how to think. They've taught me that with hard work and dedication, the impossible is possible. Cutting the budget is equivalent to cutting the hope of our city. All I ask is that you reinstate the money that was cut from the arts program, because it will bring the timeless line of history from the old to the young. I'm glad that you've listened to my concerns. Sorry.
Are you done? Do you have anything?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
You still have a little
Apologize.
time.
Yeah, that's it.
You done?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for being here. You did a great job. Anyone else wish to be heard? Good evening.
Well, good evening.
Please state your name and spell your last.
Well, before I begin, I'd like to bring a comment inquiry before my time.
No, would you speak through the microphone? And we're here to testify in the budget.
I'm a low-profile person. My name is Paul D. Kendall. I'm a write-in candidate for a U.S. Senate seat, and I'm an angry American. And before my time begins, Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to make a point of inquiry.
Sir, this is a public hearing on the budget.
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out. Is there no point of inquiry, Madam Chair?
This is a public hearing on the budget for 2017, on all the budgets. Would you like to testify on the budget?
I'm asking you the question. I'm not looking for a question back.
It's not a question and answer session either, sir. Would you like to testify on the budget?
Well, before I do, let me give you this piece of paper first.
You can give me the copies right here. Yeah, thank you.
Sheet of paper. This is a written request for you to guarantee my rights of freedom of expression. If you cannot sign this document and guarantee me those rights, then you need to make that a matter of public testimony now.
This is a public hearing on the budget for 2017, so could you please stick to the subject?
I think you've stated that 4 times. I am on the subject.
And I'll say it again if I need to. Please testify on the budget.
Well, I'm trying to get there to make my statement on the budget, but my understanding is that if this is a required meeting, then my testimony needs to be without duress. And if I can't speak freely, that it's under duress, which means it has no real standing or precedence. And by you refusing to answer my question, but yet beg me another question, I'm totally confused, quite frankly.
Well, let me try and make it simple. This is a public hearing on the 2017 budget, all of them, okay? And that's what the testimony is for, the budget. And item number 17 is audience participation. You can talk about anything else you want when we get to that item on the agenda if you'd like to wait.
Well, we're clearly miscommunicating, so I'll attempt to give some meager testimony that's under duress clearly as a matter of the record. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very concerned. They stole they stole the permanent fund dividend of 700,000 people, and you folks didn't have the backbone or the moral fortitude to stand on our behalf. The criminality of that deed goes beyond comprehension in my world. All of you, on the one hand, pretend to lead us and represent our best interest, and on the other hand, just as this conversation showed, we don't seem to communicate. This has to stop. You have to open up the people. You have to gather us together as a people with one understanding. In that gathering, there'll be no unjust harm of another individual. The reason I suggest those rules for gathering up is that we need to reconstruct as quickly as possible. You people are failing us. You're failing us the likes of which we've never seen before. There are fundamental foundations to being a free people. You are now assaulting or minimizing nearly all of those aspects of being a free people. And what I mean by that is this. Essential services are the foundation. Is that it?
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
Right,
Have
and
a good
just so you know that even in the constructs to be able to testify, it's broken and perverse. This is not a real, there's no engagement here. It's
Thank you,
foolishness.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Ed Larrivee, L-A-R-R-I-V is Victory E-E. I'm the second. We've been having a lot of crime lately, like last night. My friends that work at Holiday, they need protection. We need to have more patrols. Put that in your budget. I've told you in the past, my neighbors are all armed now. It's like gun smoke. I see them walking around with guns, Glocks on their hips, and they're not cops. We got a serious problem. Also, our roads. Anybody have a new car? Can you imagine when your wheels hit a pothole that's 3 feet deep? What that does to your car? That, in a way, is a hidden tax. We need to add that to the budget. Also, you cannot raise the budget because if you do, the landlords who want to rent their property up their rent. So guess what that does to the homeless people? They can't afford it. And then they go camping out in the woods. Who knows if they do crime? Who knows? But one thing we do know, crime is up. We need one more murder to tie the record for the most people killed 1 year or murdered in 1 year. We're up to 28 now. This is a small city. This isn't like Chicago. We need to do something. Add this into the budget. Protection. Be pro-life. That's basically what I'm saying. Because if you're not, it's going to get worse. And worse and worse. Pretty soon I'll see all of you all armed. It's going to be like Gunsmoke. So, really, what we have is a budget of life. Do you want people to live? Do you want people to die? Because when it gets cold out there, these people get desperate. 10 degrees is a big changing factor when you're out there in the woods. So, you gotta weigh it out. I like the arts. I like a lot of things we have. But putting money towards a golf course or a swimming pool, how does this promote people's lives in general? I mean, do we have that many swimmers? Do we have that many golfers? And how does this make it so that people are warm? They have a place to stay. They can work. They can pay taxes. I mean, it's when you pass these budgets. I notice the mayor's not here, by the way. That's a bad sign.
Thank
Well,
you,
anyway,
sir.
thank you all.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening. Anyone else wish to be heard? Welcome, sir.
A little bit taller than this. Okay. First name Dash and last name Riley. I'm not actually sure who.
How do you spell your last name?
Oh, R-E-I-L-L-Y.
Thank you.
I'm basically just here, like I think most of the, about half the people that are here, and I wanted to actually ask you about the Arts Council, and specifically I wanted to talk to you about kind of the impact of the Arts Council and how it actually impacts the city itself and your budget. You give them roughly $137,000 in grant money each year. That $137,000 goes to about 17 different organizations. They have a combined total, as Emmy said earlier, of roughly $21.2 million. They serve 446,174 people each year, which it recognizes significantly. It's almost half again more than the entire population of Anchorage. So the reach is gigantic. You're serving maybe some people twice, maybe some people from out of town. It's all over the place. So your return on investment, and what you had said, and not actually specifically, but your website says that your goal is to promote economic development in Anchorage through investment. Your investment in this particular council and in the arts community itself is $137,000. Your yield in mobility, because these are all nonprofit, you're moving $21.2 million a year. The return on investment for that is 15,474%. If I told you any other investment in the world would yield you 15,474% return, you tell me I was lying. It's an insane return. The benefits of these programs are gigantic, but the thing is, the budget's already stretched, and we're not asking for a restoral to what it was because, honestly, the budget's stretched, your budget's stretched, everyone's budget is stretched. The only thing we're asking is that our cuts, our tiny 0.005% of the state or the city budget, is not reduced by 36%. What I'm noticing here is the councils that are coming in, the people that are asking for their money back are only asking for tens of thousands of dollars when you're cutting $24 million out of your budget with a possible $9 million additionally. What I'm noticing is the people that are here fighting for their money back are fighting for tiny amounts of money. And I don't want to ask for the entire $50,000 back because, frankly, we should be tightening our belts like everyone else. We should feel the sting of what we as a state have done and as a city have done to reduce our income. I'd like you to reduce us by a proportional amount. $36,000 is a lot. It's a huge amount, and it sends a very clear message. And I've talked to 5 of you today. I've called all of you, and actually one of you called me back when I was at the gym, so I was not particularly prepared. Every single one of you has said, I support the arts, and that's great to hear. I love hearing that. I love hearing that from people. But when you tell me that you support the arts and then cut our budget by 36%, what you're doing is you're paying me lip service. And that's great if you're backing it up. What I'm asking you to do is put your money where your mouth is. I don't want $50,000 back because I want to, if we're going to bleed, I want to bleed with the city. But I don't want to bleed over a third of our budget. So my request is cut us by 11%, pull $15,000 out of our budget, and then pull another $5,000 out of our budget and give it to a different small group that needs it. We will bleed and we'll do our part. We'd like you to help us and do your part with us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else wish to be heard? Good evening.
Good evening again.
Excuse me, did you already testify, sir?
This is on a different subject.
But you can only testify one time, and this public hearing is on all the budgets?
May I speak then?
No, sir, you can only...
This is on a different subject, though.
I'll tell you what, at the end of the meeting, on item number 17, you can get up and talk again, but this is on the budget, and you only get to testify one time.
This is regarding a budget issue?
But you already testified, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Anyone at all? Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Assembly. My name is David Dunsmore, D-U-N-S-M-O-R-E. I definitely had no plans to speak tonight, but after hearing the really moving testimony from the arts community, I figured my brother wouldn't forgive me if I stayed silent on this issue. And I should note that I'm speaking purely on behalf of myself as a private citizen. Yeah, I would just really want to speak in support of restoring the full funding for the Arts Commission. I haven't had a chance to do the math, but I would imagine that the $50,000 would literally equal no increase in the actual mill levy assessed on the taxpayers. This is through my brother. I've seen how important the arts are to our community. Many of you know my brother is a professional ballet dancer. He now works with a company in South San Francisco. To do a little bit of bragging on my little brother, he's the first American male accepted into the Russia's elite ballet school, and so he was able to develop his world-class skills with the support from here at Anchorage Ballet Theater, Anchorage Classical Ballet, and other organizations that have received support from the municipality through the Arts Commission in the past. And so I know that this is literally an amount of money that literally goes and creates jobs, creates talent, and creates reputation for our city. And considering that I think it would literally result in no additional mill levy on an individual taxpayer, I think it's kind of a common sense thing to restore. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. You're welcome. Anyone else wish to be heard? Welcome. Please state your name and spell your last. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Ted Kincaid. I'm a local artist, a podcaster, and I'm brand new to the Arts Commission. So this is really kind of exciting and terrifying to be in front of you today, but I hope to do it again someday. So I want to talk about the restoration of the arts grants. $50,000. We were at 137. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that. I just joined recently, and so I had a wealth of information that I got to look at. It was really kind of exciting, to see, where we came from in 1977 and where we are today, the proposal. And it was kind of neat to see, like, that train. It's almost like, so I was also raised in, I went to school for economics, and so, numbers tell a story. And it's when you're looking at each budget for every year, and you look at the story behind it, you start to look at, like, what happened in 1986, what happened in, up through the late 80s, and you see like the economic hardships that Anchorage had at that point in time. And then right below that, you saw what our budget was. I think we were pushing something like 360 something thousand, and we eventually dipped down to the mid 200,000s, which is, over double what we have currently, and it's going to be over triple what we have in 2017. So when you start to look at that, like back then, when people were throwing their keys on the counter and saying, I don't want this house, I'm out of Alaska, we were still investing a ridiculous amount. Then you can adjust that for inflation. I think I was messaging John about this, and thank you for entertaining it. But when you adjust for inflation at 360,000, or that 300,000 becomes 600,000. So in 2017 dollars. So the amount was just ridiculous. But art has had and I think they realize that art has had an important role in societies. I mean, almost to the point where it's a scary role. When, if you look at developers coming up through the ages, you saw New York and like what the artists would do. You'd see like an impoverished neighborhood, and the artists would move in because all us artists are pretty poor. I remember when I was a burgeoning artist, like I found the cheapest food to eat was pancake mix. So I was eating it breakfast, lunch, and dinner until I got paid. And then it was top ramen. So, but I think that was, they came in and then they basically changed that neighborhood, and then the wealthy came in, the nice restaurants came in, and you kind of see that in Spenard as well. So you had this, transformation just because the artists were trying to find cheap rent, and the artists care about their environment, so they would change that environment. And so, we now in Spenard, I live in Spenard currently, but we have Spenard Roadhouse, we have Yak and Yetis, Tidal Wave, like all these wonderful things. And I'm seeing for sale signs. I'm seeing Spinelli come in and like uproot these old houses that are old homestead houses and turn them into zero lot lines. And that's amazing. That's really amazing. I hate it, but it's amazing because that means that the muni is getting 3 times as much capital off of those. If you take a $150,000 house, zero lot line it, now you have 300 somethings. But I just want to point out in my last statement is that the arts, this is actually Emmy pushed me up here because she liked this analogy, was that the arts are powerful. The arts are the Death Star. If wielded properly, they can do amazing things. We can change neighborhoods. We can uplift the community and hopefully help restore the budget.
Thank you for your testimony,
Thank
sir.
you.
Have a good evening. Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Mr. Trainee.
Madam Chair, move to continue the public hearing until the 1st of November 2016.
Can we have a second? Seeing no objection, the public hearing is continued to November 1st. We are now at agenda item number 17. Ms. Domboski.
Madam Chair, if I could have a moment of personal privilege. I see all these wonderful high school students out here. I would love to meet them.
Thank you, Ms. Domboski. What we'd like for you to do, all the students, is to come to the podium and state your name and what school you're from.
We'd like to know your name and what school you're going to and what grade you're in.
I'm Dallas Boatwright. I'm a senior at East High School.
I'm Max Young. I'm a senior in Mr. Sands US Gov class at Service High School.
Hi, I'm Carissa Andrews, and I go to Service High School.
Hi, I'm Zachary Pinkley, and I'm a senior at Service High School.
I'm Gabe Fromer, and I'm a senior at Service High School.
Hi, I'm Hannah McHugh, and I'm a senior at Service High School as well.
I'm Camille Andrew, and I'm a senior at Service High School.
Hi, I'm Shelby Howe, and I'm a senior at Service High School.
Hello, I am Ruth Knoll. I am also a senior at Service High School.
I'm Julia Hinkle, and I'm also a senior at Service High School.
I'm Casca Hetwer, and I'm also a Service senior.
I'm Hillary Chavez-Larson, and I'm a senior at Service.
I'm Ray Metzger, and I'm also a Service senior.
Noah Cooley, I'm also a Service senior.
Indigo Call, I'm a Service senior.
I'm Azam, I'm also a Service senior.
I'm Eric and a Service senior.
I'm Dylan Williams, a Service senior.
I'm Kristen Ward, and I'm an Eagle River senior.
I'm Tommy McCormick, and I'm a Chugiak High School senior.
I'm Brecken Cogswell, and I'm an Eagle River senior.
I'm Skylar Ham. I am a senior from Eagle River High.
I'm Nathan Wilterding, and I'm a senior at Diamond High School.
Thank you all for being here. How many still need your paperwork signed? Okay, quite a few of you. Okay, as soon as we adjourn, make sure you come up and we'll be happy to sign your paperwork for you. Okay? Okay, we're now at agenda item number 17, audience participation. Anyone like to be heard? You can come and speak to us on any item that wasn't on the agenda. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Assembly. My name is Kathy Gleason, and I inadvertently forgot to thank Assemblyman Trainee for very loyally attending all of our Federation of Community Council delegate meetings every month. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Trainee. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Me again. Hi, my name's Ed Larrivee still, L-A-R-R-I-V is a victory, E-2. The thing that also I wanted to mention is we have like a rescue shelter off of Tudor, and what they do, they test you for alcohol if you want to stay there overnight, but a lot of times it's overfilled too. Well, if they don't pass the test, they get dumped back out on the streets, and then these people come to my condos and they create a lot of mischief. A couple nights ago, for instance, a guy came, there was a knocking at the door at 10:30. I opened up the door, and this little guy was saying, "I'm going to die if you don't open up the door. It's 10 degrees." And I said, "Oh, I'm Catholic. Okay, come on in." So I put him right there. I watched him and everything all night long, make sure he's warm. About 5 o'clock, he's out the door. And, we have to have a way to fit this in the budget too. Maybe community service patrol, singing right there at the rescue shelter. So when they are rejected, instead of being dumped out on the public again, in the woods, getting desperate, so they might rob a holiday or something. We have to have a way to include this in the budget so that these people that are rejected can be taken care of to a shelter, to a sleepover, to some place where it's warm, so that they don't die, so that there's a new day. And if we don't have this, we're going to get probably much more than what we bargained for. Anyway, that's what I had to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Anyone else wish to be heard? Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening again, Barbara Upke. Madam Chair, may I speak regarding a budget grant item?
Sir, when under audience participation, okay, the rule is that you can talk about anything that wasn't on the agenda. And I apologize for that, but that's the rule.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Dash and Harley, again, you guys have actually already heard from me. I actually just wanted to thank you. I called every single one of you earlier today. I think 4 of you picked up, and Mr. Peterson, I think you actually called me back and caught me a little bit unaware. I was at the gym. I cannot believe that you have your personal phones available for people to call you at all hours to ask you questions. I cannot believe that the people called me back. I can't believe you guys answered me and talked to me and actually heard what I had to say and listened to me. It was an honor, and I really, really appreciate it. I don't think all the people I talked to necessarily agree with me on what I was asking them to do, but the fact that they even listened to me is impressive and humbling, and I'd just like to thank you for it.
You're welcome. Ms. Dombowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dash, I just want to say it was a good conversation. I appreciate it, and it's good to see you here. And I want to tell you, they do call us at all hours of the night.
Thank you, Ms. Dombowski. Anyone else wish to be heard? Okay, any assembly comments? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.